Before we start this video, I would like to say that if you want to know all the locations where I farm all the stuff included in this Gley build, then simply check out the video description below, as I have included it in there for easy browsing. I would just like to focus on the Gley build because there are lots of things to discuss, and let's begin with Gley's abilities and how I use them for this build setup. This Descendant got a passive that creates life sphere after killing an enemy. If you pick up this life sphere, it will recover a portion of your health and then will get stored as the custom resource of Gley called Power of Life, which is needed to activate her fourth ability. Now, her first active ability is called Frenzy, and turning this on will increase your firearm attack damage by 15% with the cost of lowering your incoming health recovery, and as well as taking 10% more damage than usual. By the way, Gley doesn't use MP to activate her abilities. Instead, she uses her health to cast her abilities. The base health per ability activated consumes 5% of Gley's health. In my build, I have about 20,000 health on my Gley, and it consumes about 1,000 plus health per activation of her abilities. If you want to lower the health loss per ability activation, then you can use skill cost modules to lower the percentage of health you lose after activating an ability. Her second ability is called Life Siphon, and it has two effects depending if you are in frenzy state or not. While your first ability is active, you will deal increased damage proportionally to your health. Now, I was dumb to think at first that it does affect also the damage you deal while using a gun, but the damage increase mentioned in the description works only for the ability. Basically, if you cast Life Siphon when in a frenzied state, the damage of the ability will increase. While in a non-frenzied state, it will give you the vigor buff that grants damage reduction depending on how many enemies you've hit with the ability. Ranged modules will be effective for this skill, but I rarely use this ability because in this build the best combo are her first and third abilities. Increased sensory and frenzied state will give you infinite ammo, and when I say infinite ammo, you can still shoot your guns, even zero ammunition in your gun, and you don't need to reload your gun. The best part is you can make this skill active for 9 seconds with this build, and when it ends you can just recast it again, creating that real unlimited ammunition effect that everyone will love about this Descendant. In non-frenzied state, by the way, you will gain these buffs listed in the description, but I rarely use this because this Gley build is more focused on brutally murdering everything. I came from a game wherein the best way to survive is to see all enemies lying dead on the ground, and this build focuses on achieving that mantra with Gley. Finally, while I can still use her ultimate ability with the build I show you, I rarely use this since Gley is so much better with weapons, and in fact this Gley build will make every gun in the game overpowered. Her ultimate can still damage, but I don't like using it, especially in the Void Intercept boss battles. Instead of killing trash mobs to drop life orbs and activate her ultimate, I just murder the bosses with guns. In fact, it's more efficient in my opinion to use guns with Gley, since you can also mod your guns to maximum power. When you use your ultimate, then the skill power and duration modules will compete in your build, which I don't like, as I would want to have the infinite ammunition buff. This is just a personal preference, but you will see what I mean in a moment. Now, let's get into the Gley build. The mid-air maneuvering is just a personal choice, and you can replace this with any sub-module that you have, especially if you don't like having a hard time clinging to weak points of Void Intercept enemies. I don't usually cling to the weak spots with this Gley build and just brutalize every enemies with insane DPS, and I also like to play Spider-Man in open world areas, hence I have this sub-module in my build. Then let's talk about Predator Instinct. This skill module gives Gley 21% firearm attack bonus at level 2. What level 2 means is after firing your gun for 2 seconds, you will achieve the level 2 bonus of Predator Instinct and get the 21% bonus instead of the 15% base firearm bonus. Increased health module is a must-have since Gley needs this not just to survive, but also to activate her skills. Since we don't need MP with this Descendant, we can use the MP conversion to give us maximum cooldown that we can get. Pair this with nimble fingers and focus on dimension modules, and I have about 12.7 seconds of cooldown for the ability. With the maximized duration and skill extension, I get 8.8 seconds duration for increased sensory, but this is not enough to cast the ability again once its duration expires. To get this, you must have to farm a reactor with skill cooldown and skill duration as its substats. Right now, this is the best reactor I can farm, and it cuts down the cooldown to only 9.8 seconds, and its duration increased to 9.3 seconds. This build only has a 0.5 seconds downtime on increased sensory, and I don't notice this downtime at all, as once the ability expires, I can just recast the ability third ability again. Now, I would like to further push this build, but it's not worth it in my opinion, since I got enough survivability and infinite ammunition buff to farm all the content in the game. This build is very versatile, as it can make the Void Intercept boss fight super easy, even the Frostwalker hard mode boss fight. It's also great in infiltration hard mode and in every content that you can think of playing in the game. It's even great in killing those Void Reactor bosses in hard mode while farming for components in your amorphous materials. Overall, this is not just a DPS with good survivability Gley build, but it's one of the best farming build for Gley out there. The 2 empty slots are for personal preference, and there is the option to go with the another defensive module called an Iron Wall that gives Gley massive defense defense boost as he doesn't have any shield values. Then you can pair it with an antibody module to increase your elemental defense. With both increased defense and iron will modules, you can have 57,000 defense, which converts to 60% damage reduction. The elemental antibody will a big help for survivability, especially if you roll a resistance stats in your external components. Take note that for your auxiliary, you can roll fire resistance. For the sensor, you can roll a chill resistance substat. For the memory, you can get an electric resistance substat. And finally, the process can give you a toxin resistance substat. You can get 3,000 plus elemental resistance in your component, and you can use an antibody module to further boost that and make your Gley even more tanky. But if you don't like swapping modules in every mission, then you can just add another defense module to increase your damage reduction to 63%. But then again, there is always the option to add skill cost modules in this build to lessen the amount of health you lost by activating a skill. Also, you can put special mods like walk a tightrope in your build to get 30% firearm attack damage once your health is at 50% or less. Like I have said, the 2 module slots are optional, and you can place any module that will be beneficial for your playstyle. Now, let's talk about weapon choices. There is no best weapon for Gley with this build, as she can turn every weapon into an absolute monster, but I do have some favorite weapons, and these are the Tamer, the Thunder Cage, and the Vestigial Organ Rocket Launcher. By the way, in terms of modding your weapon while playing Gley, you don't need rounds per magazine stat or anything that increases the ammunition capacity of your gun. When you add rounds per magazine in your gun, then it will add another bullet to your gun, which then gives you more total DPS as depicted in the DPS screen of every gun. But in the case of Gley, you don't need rounds per magazine as you have infinite ammunition. The modules you only need in your guns are the ones that increase your firearm attack, your fire rate, your weak point damage, elemental damage, and your critical hit if the weapon you are using has a high critical chance. In the case of Tamer, it's even better since you can stack the bonus of the mental focus module before hitting bosses, and this will give you an insane 150% firearm attack bonus to your gun. Mental focus can also be applied with the Thunder Cage, and if you put this on the last slot, along with critical hit, firearm, elemental, and weak point, then the ultimate submachine gun will shred the health of enemies like they are made of butter. The best combo I can recommend is the Vestigial Organ, which is an automatic rocket launcher that is busted with Gley right now. You don't have to worry about high power rounds anymore while playing this with Gley, and this is the weapon I am always using in farming bosses, infiltration missions, and other things in the hard mode. Now, to mod this weapon, you don't exactly even need an energy activator, as the first priority modules are only firearm, elemental, and fire rate, which you can equip all max rank without increasing module capacity. But the combo will be better, especially in hard mode boss intercept battles when you will enhance it with weak point damage, or even a couple of rare mods that grants bonus firearm attack on the rocket launcher. I would love to increase the module capacity of this gun right now, but I'm saving the energy activator for my hard mode farmer Sharon, which I will release on my next Descendant build guide. So that's all about it. I hope that this video will help you create your own Gley build. If you want to follow this build, then it took me about 5 days to farm everything I need, and all the farming spots for the items are listed in the video description below. It took more than a week, however, to complete the build since I have to test out all possible modules for this build. I'm sorry if I'm a little slow in terms of posting build guides for Descendants, as I always aim to give you the best build that is actually useful in real mission. Right now, this Gley build can help you finish the Frostwalker and the last hard mode boss easily with a team. You can also do hard mode infiltration if you like farming amorphous materials in these mission types. You can also use this in killing bosses in reactor missions and any hard mode content you can think of. The best part about this build is that you can solo almost everything in hard mode, unless you are required to be with a team. So far, this Gley build is the best I can do, but I'm not closing another horizon of other potentially broken builds for this Descendant. For now, you can use this Gley build to help you farm everything in the game, and if you like it, then please help us by simply liking and sharing this video. If you also would like to see more content from us, then don't hesitate to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you get notified on every content that we upload. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you again in our next video. Squad Leader, signing off.